It's just as funny today as it was then. You know, I joined the orchestra in 1961 and recently retired. And Meyer was that really formal-looking person sitting behind the timpani. And the first 2 or 3 concerts, everything was just brand new to me. And we had a concert where we played the 1812 Overture. And as you all know, there's cannons at the end of that. And the way the cannons were manifest is that there were 2 matched shotguns behind the screen at the Opera House. And Bruce Ford was the percussionist who was charged with firing off those shotguns at the appointed times. Following the score, there was a person next to him that would give him another loaded shotgun, and he would load the shotgun, and Bruce Ford would make the entrances. And there was smoke all over the place. And we got done with that concert, and Mr. Cadams came out and took his bows, and then he came out, walked across the stage, all the way to the wing, opened up the door, and he brought Bruce Ford out holding the 2 shotguns. But what he didn't know, and none of us knew, is as Mr. Cadams was walking across the stage, Meyer all of a sudden came out the side door and started to follow Milton Cadams to the other side of the stage. And he had something in his hand, but couldn't figure out what it was. So he got Bruce Ford out, they walked out this way, and then Meyer all of a sudden was right there, and Meyer evidently had vanished a stuffed duck. And he handed it to Mr. Cadams, and he took it, and he walked off, and so there's the picture, the shotguns and Cadams holding this stuff. And that was my introduction to Meyer. And we got to know each other because we both had an interest in jazz, and eventually I took up the game of golf. And I was pretty good at sports, and I figured I would master this thing. And went out and played golf with him, and I was so mad, I want to say pissed, because I thought I could do this. And I got worse and worse and worse. I had a bad attitude. But Meyer, in his way, calmed me down over a period of years, gave me hints, told me books to read, and eventually settled me down. And he taught me patience and perseverance on the golf course. And that was a big lesson for me to learn at that point. We eventually also played tennis together. And probably the most intense times we spent was we were on the negotiating committee. And it was 2 different negotiations. Hello? If it's for me, I'm not home.
They remember.
And he was fabulous on those committees, because when things really got hot and intense, he always had a way of speaking very, very calmly. He would quiet things down, and he was a very effective person on that committee. And we owe a lot to Meyer in terms of the successful negotiations that we were able to do. As a timpani player, it was absolutely amazing with what he did in the ring. The timpanis for the ring is actually scored for 2 timpani players, 8 kettle drums. And in the first 5 years, they had to reduce the timpani parts into 1. So he had to cover both timpani parts from 1975 to 1980. And he was constantly tuning and tapping, trying to get everything absolutely in tune. He never missed an entrance. He was always in tune. And how he did it, I don't know. He's absolutely amazing. In about 1969, we drove to the East Coast. He was looking for wood to make a guitar, seasoned wood. And I was going to the East Coast in order to look for an instrument. We left Missoula, Montana on the second day at 4 a.m. in the morning. And somehow we couldn't stop driving. And we pulled into Fargo, North Dakota at 3 a.m. Nothing was open except a little 2-story brick hotel in the middle of town. And we were absolutely beat. And we walked in hoping they'd have a room. And we walked up to the desk. There was a young clerk. And we said, "Do you have any rooms?" He says, "Yes, we have 2. I said, "How much are they?" He said, "One is $16 and one is $19. And we both looked, and I said, "What's the difference?" He said, $3. No, what's the difference between the rooms? So the one for 16, the bathroom was down the hall. The one for 19, the bathroom was in the room. So that's the one we took. Later on in New York, we were staying in Manhattan, and we had to take a subway all the way out to Queens, because from there we had to catch a bus so he could get out to the place where he was going to look for this seasoned wood. And it could have even been some of the wood that's here today. And so he took the subway, got to Queens, but it was no longer a subway. It was an elevated train by that point. And so we were up high on this trestle. We walked off. We didn't know where we were going to catch this bus. And there was a conductor from the subway. So we asked him. He says, "Yeah, just go down the stairs and go across the street. That's where you can catch that bus." We said, "Thank you." So we walked down the stairs and came down to an intersection that was 5 streets coming into it. So we didn't know which street we were supposed to go across. So we saw a person was on the corner selling newspapers. So we asked that person, "We need to catch this bus, where do we go?" So he pointed to some place in that direction, and we said, "Thank you." So as we turned around to get there, the conductor had followed us. And when we turned around, he was standing there right in our faces. And he said, "You asked me where to go. I told you where to go. If you weren't going to do what I was going to tell you, don't ask me next time." And just one more little quick story. One time we were going out to Everett to play golf on a Sunday morning. And I was up late the night before. I was playing a dance job, I think. And we had to meet at 6 in the morning. And Ronald Phillips, who we played golf with a lot, and Meyer and I were on our way up Sunday early morning to Everett. And I was tired, and I laid down in the back seat, and because I wasn't really up. And I think I kept dozing on and off, dozing on and off. And the last time I kind of wake up, the car feels like it's going like this. And I was down, I couldn't see over the front seat. And so I yelled, I said, "Is there something wrong with the car?" No. They were busy talking golf, inside golf. I mean, when those who started to talk, that was all it was. And so I laid back down again, and it still felt very rocky. So I finally got up and looked over the back seat. It was a Lincoln Continental, which is what Ronald drove. And here's the center line between 2 lanes, and the car is going like this. And I said, "Wait, there's something wrong with the car." No, there's nothing wrong with the car. Look at the center line. Oh. And he started to slow down. I guess at least for 10 miles or so, we were going 70 miles an hour on a flat tire. And they didn't notice it. So we ended up talking about golf. So we pulled over to the side of the road, and we were in the process of changing the tire, when out of nowhere, a street cleaner came down the shoulder of the road. Now, there's only maybe 3 other cars ever on this road at that time during that year. And the street driver comes up behind us, and then he comes around us, and he pokes his head out the window. He says, "You know, you can't go anywhere in this town without a bottleneck." Now, I could probably stand up here and tell thousands of stories. I was one of those people that played bridge with Meyer. We did so many things together, going out to lunch between services, but really, you know, he taught me so much. Because I started off as a 21-year-old kid, and there's 16 years difference, but he basically was a large part of my development, both personally and in the orchestra. So, thank you.